All right. Good afternoon, guys. Wherever you are, I've got Jake Sucoff coming on, and he's a digital marketer. And I'm really happy to have him on the show to discuss his insights. He's an entrepreneur, and he's also a podcast host. And I'm really happy to have him on and pick his brains. Jake, welcome.
Good to be here, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, briefly introduce yourself, and we'll fire it away.
Sure. My name is Jake Sucoff. I am a recovering financial professional. I spent a few years as an asset manager. It was pretty awful. I went into startups after that. I started a mobile marketing and loyalty rewards company called Text Savvy, which was my first foray into both entrepreneurship and marketing. And then after some years in various roles in tech and in agencies, I started to launch my own. I launched Patient Procure about 8 months ago. It is a full service marketing agency that focuses on the healthcare professionals.
Yeah, interesting. And a lot of the audience are healthcare, they're doctors. And what marketing tactics are best for people specifically for healthcare?
Oh, I could talk about this for a very long time. Let's start with local SEO. Healthcare is local. When anybody is Googling or searching for a practitioner, it is always chiropractor near me,
Yeah.
gastroenterologist near me. So making sure that you have your local SEO put together, your Google My Business profile, it's optimized, you're doing updates, the information is correct, it's set up to receive phone calls, to receive messages, super important. Arguably the most important thing you can do and probably the highest return on investment because it really doesn't take that much time and effort to set up and the returns are immense.
Hmm. And the other thing is talking about marketing tactics. As a growing healthcare practice, do doctors need to be on social media? Because they really have, to be honest, they have their time to be spent on patient and seeing patients. Do they need to be using social media?
Oh man, what a great topic. The short answer is yes. The long answer is you got into healthcare to practice medicine. You did not get into healthcare to be in marketing. So the I think there's a misconception around social media. It's great for brand building and it's great for building trust and it's great for creating a validation around the choice to work with a certain practitioner. Think of it as an opportunity to build trust outside of your office. But at the same time, a lot of the healthcare professionals that I work with, they believe that it's a very strong acquisition method. And unless you are one of the, I don't have a great name for it, docfluencer, medfluencer, unless you have millions of followers and you have a whole team pumping out content consistently, it's not really an acquisition strategy. So I think that it's table stakes these days because once there's just unbelievable choice that every potential patient has. So you want to have something out there so that they can see who you are, what your ethos is about practicing medicine, and they can get to know you a bit better. But I would caution practitioners not to overemphasize social media because it can really be a time suck. And again, back to return on investment, unless you are getting into a really good rhythm and you're publishing content and it's not taking a huge amount of your effort, it's gonna cost you a lot of time.
And along those lines, because there's a lot of large physician influencers with a huge base. There's like White Coat Investor, and there's Instagrammers with 1 million followers, YouTubers, Daniel Sugai. Do physicians need a million followers, or they just need to have a presence?
They just need to have a presence, and it's really important that they focus on the things that interest them within the healthcare that they're practicing because your passion is going to shine through. And the people who are looking for you, for your solution, for the treatment that you offer, they're looking for information and they're looking for it from an expert. The
Yeah.
rise of AI has made it extremely easy to type in a query and get all of the supposed information you might need about any illness or a healthcare challenge you might be facing. But it's never going to replace the expertise of a physician or practitioner. And having that be a trusted source for them is huge. So I wouldn't think about it in terms of needing to get to multi million followers or even hundreds of thousands. Think about In terms of what is the value to your practice of each additional patient, every piece of content that you put out there that is helpful, that's going to help inform a patient, is going to potentially convert a new patient to your practice.
Yeah. And what's interesting is because you talk about hiring a distributed workforce that is 90% as effective as a US based team for 10% of the cost. And a lot of doctors, if they're not employed by hospitals, they're solo practitioners or they're private practice. How can you hire a non US based team for 10% of the cost that is 90% as effective?
The first thing you should do is call me and use Patient Procure to do this for you because you don't want to do marketing. You want me to do marketing for you. So just go to patientprocure.com and I'll build your entire marketing engine for you. Now, if you decide, I don't want to go the agency route, I want to do this myself, there are scores of different sources for overseas workers. I personally hire all of my employees directly, whether they're in the US or Canada or South America or Southeast Asia. I like to have my own people. I don't rely on these outsourced headhunting agencies to bring people in. That said, maybe you want to do that just to save yourself a little bit of pain and time and effort. It really does take a long time to create a process where you can create the job description, vet all the talent yourself, interview them, and then onboard them, and then finally put them to work. But I'll give you a couple of tips. I use a great job board called onlinejobs.ph. It's all Filipino hires. I've had extremely good success with folks on there. You could also just go to Upwork. You can go to LinkedIn. There's all sorts of places where you can find people. But like anything, there's a lot of it's difficult to find the quality workers and it takes a lot of effort. And I have a whole system for sourcing and interviewing and vetting and hiring. So you should come to a trusted expert like myself. But again, if you feel like you have the bandwidth, start messaging some people on LinkedIn and you never know what might happen.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. And how can people find out more about Patient Procure and talking about which platforms and looking into your agency? Because obviously, doctors, they're pressed for time, but they can hire and outsource this to do it for them. And how can they connect with you and learn more from you?
If you go to patientprocure.com, there's a bunch of buttons that you can click. It'll send me an email. I'm happy to review your situation, give you a free audit because you're a friend of the podcast, and give you a sense of what I would do and what I wouldn't do. And hopefully, you give me a shot.
Yeah, I really love that. And thanks so much for coming on and discussing your expertise and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for letting me be here.